Yeah, all in all, um, my name is David Mogaji, and I'm the CEO of Candleweb. Aside from being the CEO of Candleweb, I have quite the experience in different types of programming, from blockchain programming to backend engineering, and then AI, which is my latest obsession. And also beyond that, I've also worked with a lot of crypto fans in the past. If I'm not mistaken, I've been in crypto since 2014 or 15 or thereabouts. And I've worked with a handful of blockchain or crypto companies, if you will. I've worked with the likes of Dash, Smart Cash, Police, Four, and then an Axe Runner. And while I worked with them, I was able to learn some things from them, and then also learn some things from the hard lessons of life, especially when it comes to losing money due to a lack of a solid personal finance knowledge. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about personal finance and then crypto investing principles. But before we jump into what we have today, I would like to know um, how many of you here have invested in crypto before and then you lost all your money, maybe crypto or maybe stock or or forex or any kind of investment at all that you put in your money and then you lost everything. Please, if you've had such an experience or you know someone that had such an experience, please indicate in the chat. Maybe you can even share a little bit of story around that as well. Isaac, I'm still audible, right? Just to confirm.
Yes, good to hear. Yes, you're very audible. We can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. That's interesting. iPhone. I'm guessing that's your phone, not your name. Um, oh wow. I lost my school fees to Forex. Interesting. That's a lot. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. All right. Sorry guys, about losing your money, but I mean, as they say without sadness, you wouldn't understand the value of joy, right? And that's what this losses earlier this year. Oh, sorry about that. And that's what most of these losses are like. Some people will say you don't use and pay school fees, right? So today we'll be talking about personal finance, and personal finance covers a long range of um, subjects, right? From budgeting to saving to investment and all of that. But before we talk about these subsets of personal finance, I think let's talk about personal finance in itself. What is personal finance? Now, from the definition we have here, personal finance is actually about managing your money wisely, right? So when you're managing your money, you have to be able to decide how much you intend to spend, how much you intend to save, how much you intend to invest as well, right? For you to be able to achieve your financial goal, right? And then avoid financial problems or hurdles along the way. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't actually know that they have a financial goal, right? Because when they hear the word financial goal, they think it's it's a big deal, right? Now, for example, if you're saving your money, if you're saving money to buy the next or the latest iPhone, which I believe is iPhone 17 currently, right? Now, you having to save money to be able to acquire that phone, that is actually a financial goal, right? Because you're saving to be able to achieve a particular goal, which is what? For you to be able to purchase what? Your iPhone 17, right? So it could be a car, it could be a land, it could be anything. It could be traveling abroad, as they call it Japa now, right? So it could be literally anything, but that's a financial goal, right? But the major issue that's that comes up when it comes to financial goal is that most people usually have short-term financial goals and plans, which is what always causes a lot of problem for people, right? So I'll give a quick example of this using my own story. Um, when I was in school, I think that should be 300 level. I was working with a company called Smart Cash then. And then while I was working with Smart Cash, I think that was where I made like I was able to like touch a millionaire like first time that I had like $1 million that was my own, right? It wasn't like it was someone else's. And as someone who had read a lot of books um, about personal finance, investing, and all of that, I read a lot of books authored by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad, cash flow quadrant, a lot of his books, right? Why the A's work for the B's and the B's work for the C's. A lot of those books, right? So I read a lot of these books. And then once I had that money that Smart Cash paid me for the work I did, the first thing I was thinking about is how do I, create passive income? How do I, put my money to work and then start earning? Now, the issue was that I didn't exactly have a personal financial structure, right? I just wanted to just start investing. So I didn't have anything I allocated to something like savings, investing, spending. There was nothing like that. Now, where I schooled then, where I was staying off campus, there was no restaurant around there, right? And then I did what I thought was market survey. I just asked like two, three people, if there's a restaurant here, would you eat, right? Which, I mean, two, three people don't exactly cover the scope of the number of people that are staying in that area. Now, when I did this, right, I also spoke to my parents. I spoke to my mom, and then my mom then told me that I shouldn't venture into having a restaurant in school, that I should take the money and then buy gold. If I'm not mistaken, this was around 2016, and gold as at then, I think a gram of gold as at then was around between 7 to 9 thousand naira, right? Now, I felt like my mom is old fashioned, right? If I should buy gold, I have to wait for years or months, before I can be able to accrue any kind of profits. But if I should have a restaurant, right, the more people are coming in, they're ordering for food, they're eating and all of that, right, I would be able to make daily profit or daily income. And that was how I started this restaurant. And I think a lot of you can already guess the outcome of this, right? A lot of you can already guess the outcome of this. I invested about I think about 800,000 naira to set up the restaurant, right? So I had to rent the space, get the generating sets, buy a lot of kitchen utensils, and a lot of other stuff. So a few bit of interior decoration just to make the place fancy. I even had like a VIP section where you can go, where you can go and eat with your date, right? Like it's just a small space for just two persons. So I mean, it's a school environment. So if you have a girl that you've been talking to and you want to take her to a place that is affordable, that is within the school premises, you can go there. Now, when I had this stuff, it seemed like I was making headway, but within a month, I realized I had made a very, very serious mistake because one, the market was very, very far from the school, right? Which means I spend a lot for me to go and be able for me to be able to go and get food items, right? That's the items I use in cooking. Aside from that, um, I had to, there weren't many customers. There weren't many customers, right? A lot of people that were coming around were maybe some of my classmates that were my friends, or just a few people that could afford that, right? But the summary of this story is I lost every single thing from that restaurant. And when I wanted to sell the items I had bought then, because I think that was like my first time going into depression. Yeah, I think that was like my first time going to depression. So I had to sell every single thing from there. And the bunch of stuff I spent, the bunch of money I spent on this whole thing was around 700,000 naira. And when I was selling these items to people, I think I was only able to make 35,000 naira out of 700,000 naira, right? And then I fell into a very, very, very quick depression. Thank God I was able to snap out of that. Now, why am I sharing this story? Right? A lot of times, right, I understand the need for daily income. I understand the need for daily cash flow. But a lot of time, without a structured personal financial plan, most people would make mistakes, right? And due to the fact that you're feeling pressured that you need to earn money daily for you to cover your bills and all of those things, anything that comes to you at that time seems like a very shiny and wonderful opportunity, right? And it's highly unlikely that you're going to evaluate those quote and unquote opportunities from a rational standpoint, which is what almost always leads to losses, right? Same thing if you look at things like crypto, things like Forex, and all of that, you would see that a lot of times, a lot of people who trade don't even have like a plan, right? All they just have is just a basic strategy, right? Something like, yeah, if the RSI is below 30 or within the range of 30, yes, we buy. If RSI is above 70 or within 70, we sell and all of that. They don't have things like, okay, at what amount are you looking at taking profits, right? What is your risk management? What's your risk appetite, right? How much are you willing to lose, right? So a lot of people don't have a lot of these things. And aside from that, they still did not further segment their capital, right? For me, I feel like it's a fool's errand for you to have, let's say, 100,000 naira, and then you take the entirety of that 100,000 naira and say you want to go and trade Forex. Life doesn't work that way, right? The way they'll tell you, they'll say, invest what you're willing to lose. It's about the same thing with all that kind of investments, right? Because I mean, it's not guaranteed, but I mean, through your due diligence, your research, and all of that, you can be able to hedge yourself when there's a market decline. Now, going back to personal finance, you would see that there are some core areas, some core things that you have to take into account for you to have your own personal financial structure or plan, right? So the first thing is your income. You have to look at, okay, how much are you making on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis? Now, some people think their income is just what you get from your salary, but that is actually not true, right? That's not true. So even if you have like side gigs, or even someone even gives you money, trust me, that's still income, right? That's still income. Because if someone dashes you, let's say 50,000 naira or 100K, it's income. It's money that is coming to you, regardless of how it's coming, right? So the entirety of money that you make within a month, within a week or a day, that's your income. So you have to first of all take into account how much are you earning from all your income sources, right? So your full-time job, your side hustle, whatever you're doing, how much are you earning are you getting from this? The next thing you have to look at is how much you are spending from your income, how much you're spending from your income. And this is very, very, very important, right? Because expenses are things that we have to do almost every day, right? Every day, every week, every month, you have something you're spending on. It's either you're buying a clothes, you're buying a shoe, you're spending on food, you're buying data, you're buying airtime, one way or the other, right, you definitely have expenses, right? So it is very, very, very important that you're able to monitor your expenses. In fact, it's even better that you have a certain amount of your income allocated to your expenses. Back to the story I shared about the money I lost from the restaurant business. After I lost the money and then went into depression, um, when I was snapping out of the depression, one thing I started doing is I started reading more, right? I started reading more outside of the things I was reading. I started checking out, reading on things like personal finance, how to properly manage your income and a lot of all those things. And then that was when I realized that I approached that business the wrong way because I spent almost everything I had on that business. And when it failed, I had nothing else to fall back to than a few coins I had in my wallet then. And that got me to now realize that for you to be able to not just make money, but for you to be able to keep your money and then grow your money, you need to have a structure that you work with, right? And for me, the structure I started working with, I had a certain amount of my income that I allocate to my expenses. I have a certain amount that I allocate to my savings. I have a certain amount I allocate to investing. I have a certain amount I also allocate to things like emergency, right? So emergency is still part of the expenses, but I have to like separate it from regular expenses. So from that way, I was able to like gain more clarity because now when I have money coming in, I know that okay, maybe 30% is going to expenses, 10% is going to emergency, 30% is going to investing, 20% is going to savings, right? So now I can be able, through this, I can be able to manage myself properly within every single month because of the fact that I know that, okay, this is the amount I have in my expense account and my emergency account. I will try to reduce my financial needs, things I have to spend money on, right, down to that particular amount that I have allocated for expenses for that month. If for any reason I have something that I'm supposed to buy, that the amount would take out every single thing I have in my expense column, right? I just move that to the next month. So that way, it helped me to be able to um, go longer, right? Like save longer time and then also invest longer time without having to go and touch my investment funds or the funds I have in my savings account, which is what a lot of people don't do, right? At most, what most people do is they have income, they save whatever they can, they just put it in their savings account, and then maybe they just have a few bucks that they spend and they have a problem, they go back, dig into their savings account, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll put it back next month. Yeah, next month they'll put it back, but something will still come down next month and they'll still take another amount of money out of their savings account. Now, this might look like progress, but you're actually being stagnant because you're not making any progress. You're only just returning the funds that you have put in your savings account. And even when saving money as well, right, it still comes with its own challenges. It still comes with certain kind of research and things that you have to do for you to know that you're actually saving the right way, right? So if you're saving, for example, in a currency that has high amount of inflation, right? By the time you probably want to use your savings account funds for something, maybe to purchase a land, which is another form of investment, or whatever it is you want to use it to do, you would notice that the purchasing power of the money that you have saved has diminished, it has reduced, right? So even when saving, it is very, very essential that you know um, what you're saving with, right? Are you saving your money in gold? Are you saving your money in USDT? Are you saving your money in Bitcoin? Like, how are you saving your money, right? So the approach to which you're saving your money is as important as the saving itself, right? Then the other thing is investing. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that investing is different from speculation, right? It's different from Ponzi scheme. Now, a lot of people will say they want to do something, but let's say, for example, someone is trading Forex, right, every day, and you ask them, they'll say, yeah, they're investing in Forex. That's not investing, that's speculation, right? And you see a lot of these people don't even have a structure, right? Anything that looks like a green candle, they're bought, they're sold. What you're doing is you're speculating. You are not exactly investing because you're not following any kind of investment principle, right? As you're doing this, which is why a lot of people experience more losses than what gains. Because one, they're in a haste to double whatever they have invested. You're putting in $100, you're looking at turning your $100 to $1,000 in a week, in 2 weeks. You're going to lose that money. You're definitely going to lose that money. If you read a lot of books on investments, like the one I'm currently reading, um, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, you would see that a lot of the investments in this book, in fact, the list I've seen is 5 years. You're seeing investments of 20 years, 30 years on a lot of these things, which is why you see that when it comes to people that have actually figured out this money game, you would see that if you come and meet them with opportunities and be like, okay, bring this, bring that, and then in 30 days you get 30%, most of them will not answer you. It's mostly people that are poor or middle class people that have zero financial knowledge that you're going to meet them and tell them that, oh yeah, now bring your 100 naira and invest, and in 30 days you're going to get 30% return. Trust me, there is no real investment that works that way. If you check platforms like Piggyvest, you check a lot of even foreign platforms like even BlackRock. BlackRock manages, I think, about $10 trillion or $15 trillion for their clients. BlackRock would never give their clients returns monthly basis. It's always annually. But because of the fact that a lot of people, as I said, don't really have financial knowledge, right? They believe that, yes, someone telling me because the person has maybe like a good resume or a good title, and then maybe the person just has a lot of jargons, like the one that recently happened with what's the name of this platform again? CBEX, right? Just because CBEX came out and said, oh, one AI platform will give you this, will give you that. A lot of people didn't take the time to think, okay, how are they making this money? Right? Like, how are they making this money? Okay, you said you're trading crypto, you're giving me 30%, you're giving me 40% in a month. I mean, it's the same crypto market that I see, that there are times that the market is bad and people are crying. So how are you going to guarantee my income or my profits around those down times when the market is terribly bad? Are you going to risk my money just because of want to make me profit? So these are some of the questions that people need to ask. But beyond that, I believe that it is very, very essential that you have a personal financial structure, right? Have an amount that you're spending monthly, have an amount you're saving monthly, have an amount that you're investing monthly, and then also have a way that you're protecting this things, right? Have a way that you're hedging this things. If you're going to invest, don't take the bunch of your money and put in crypto. Don't take the bunch of your money and put in forex. Don't take the bunch of your money and put in gold or real estate. Even the real estate market, a lot of people now are shouting real estate, real estate. I think in 2000 or thereabouts, the real estate market crashed, and a lot of people lost their homes. They lost their livelihood. So anything can, even gold as it is, can crash. If an asteroid tomorrow falls from the sky, from space into Earth, and let's say it's made of gold, immediately the price and value of gold is going to plummet, right? Which is why a lot of people always recommend what? Diversification, which brings me to what? Number five, item number five on this presentation, which is what? Protection. How are you protecting your capital from unforeseen circumstances? Recently, I think Trump announced a 100% tariff on China and said they're going to also put a tariff on digital goods. Immediately, we saw top assets, even Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin lost almost 7%. We had crypto coins that lost 90 something percent of their value. We had some that lost 60 something percent. We had some that went to zero. So imagine someone that took 100% of their investment capital and buy a particular coin. Automatically, you've lost that entire money. Even if you don't even buy a particular coin, you still diversify, you buy a few of this, a few of that, a few of this, you might still lose everything. Even some people, I know people that have like the kind of coins that hold now, like the top 10 coins. By the time you accumulate the losses from Bitcoin, from Solana, from Ethereum, from XRP, and all of that, you see that the person's loss is getting to as high as 25%, 50%, 70%, right? But imagine that you have your investments, and then from that 100% of your investment capital, let's say you take 30%, you buy gold long term. I'm not talking of you're buying this year and you're selling next year. No, I'm not talking about that, right? You buy long term, long term. And one thing I would like to talk about long term is I think this is where a lot of young people like us make mistakes, right? This is where a lot of us make mistakes. One thing I've seen a lot of young people believe is that when you're young, your youthful age, your youthful era is for you to enjoy, for you to go to the club, wear the most expensive shoes and watches and clothes, whatever your kink is. But that's actually a lie, right? That's actually a lie. And why I said that's a lie is if you look at um, most people in the world, let's say, for example, you look at a country like Nigeria, right? If you say we want to look at the people that have money, like real money, you would realize that most of the people that actually have a lot of money are people like the baby boomers. That's the generation before millennials. These are the people that have the most money because why? When they were younger, a lot of them were working, they were buying lands cheap, they were investing in different things, right? A lot of them dedicated their youthful age just for work, right? So by the time they are now aged, when they are retired, that's when they are now using these funds to maybe further invest, enjoy their life, travel, and a lot of stuff. But if you still look at within those baby boomers to check those who are aged now, who are old now, but maybe they are depending on their children or on their pensions, right, for them to be able to earn a living or for them to be able to like keep up with their expenses, you'd realize that a lot of these people were the ones that when they were younger, they were traveling around. They didn't have any future plan for their finances, right? Maybe at most they just buy a land and buy a house or build a house. Which, if you build a house and you're living in it and you don't have a tenant or you're not renting it out for some programs or whatever, that house is not an investment. It is what? A liability, because the simple definition of reliability is what? What takes money out of your pockets. And an investment is what? What puts money in your pockets. It doesn't depend, it doesn't matter the frequency, right? But whatever puts money in your pocket is an investment. Whatever takes money out of your pocket is a liability, right? So, having said that, you also need to look at how you can diversify, right? Which is item number 5, how you can protect your capital from unforeseen circumstances. The recent crash happened in crypto that we saw a lot of people killing themselves. I'm guessing, my heart reaches out to them, but I'm guessing if they had, let's say, a financial system whereby maybe they have 40% of their investments in crypto, maybe 60% in gold, or maybe 40% in gold, 20% in stocks or some other kind of instruments, they probably wouldn't have experienced as much loss as they did that resulted to them giving up and then committing suicide, right? Because while crypto was plummeting, gold was going up, right? Because gold is always seen as a safe haven, especially when there is uncertainty in the world, especially during wars. So that's that about this, right? So the first thing, as I said, is know how much you're earning monthly, yearly, whatever. Like just know how much you're earning. And also from that, allocate a percentage to what you know that you will be spending every month from that income. From that as well, allocate what you will be saving, right? What you will be saving. And as I said, even saving is tricky. You have to make your research and make sure that whatever whatever you're investing or you're saving with, whether you're because you can save through gold, you can take your money and say, okay, instead of saving in naira, you want to buy a little amount of gold every month or every year, depending on how much you can afford, and use that as a saving. You can also use gold as investment as well, right? So have an amount, a certain percentage allocated to your saving, have another one allocated to your investing, and always remember to diversify. Always remember to diversify. Now, going to the next thing, we'll be talking about the importance of personal finance. So, I mean, the first one is quite obvious, right? We have long-term security. So, if you have having a good financial plan helps you to be better prepared for the future, right? Emphasis on what? The future. Because trust me, if you're 20 now, you're 30 or you're 40, the amount of energy you have now, you wouldn't have it when you're 70 or 60. And if you think you might not live up to 70 or 60, what if you do live up to that time, right? A lot of people will say, enjoy today, forget about tomorrow. Please, suffer today, and be more concerned about tomorrow because yeah, tomorrow can be much more important than today. The other time I met a friend of mine, um, and then we're talking about investment, and then he told me how he had some financial problems, and then he had to take out all the money he invested, and then he had to use it to solve the problem. After I listened to him, I told him something. I said, first, you should know something. Problem no they finish, right? Problem no they finish. And from my own experience, I've learned that if you have a problem, right, and you ignore that problem, not that you ignore it and not solve it, but you ignore it to the degree that you are not willing to touch your investments, your mind by default, your brain by default will begin to seek other ways that you can solve that problem. But if every single time, right, that you have a problem, what you want to do is you want to go and touch your investment, you want to go and touch your savings. Trust me, your mind is never going to be innovative enough to come up with a solution every time you have a financial problem. And every time you're taking money from your investments, what you're just doing is you're shooting yourself in the leg, like you're hindering your own success. And over time, you just be stuck in one place. That's why you see some people that you tell them about investment, they'll tell you things like, I beg, I don't do it before, I beg, where you get me. They were investing the wrong way. They were doing it the wrong way, which is why it is very, very important that whenever you're going into any form of investment, don't think 1 year, don't think 2 years, think long term. In fact, see it as your retirement savings account. But this time around, it's actually an investment account, right? This is your investment column. This is what you're invested in long term that you know that, okay, yeah, this is what you're going to retire with. If you want to be a millionaire, right, this is how you're going to get there. If you want to be a billionaire, this is how you're going to get there. And I'm sorry to say, but crypto has kind of corrupted a lot of people because I mean, you wake up in the morning, you hear of one guy that bought X coin with $100, and in 1 week or in 5 hours, the guy is a millionaire. Yes, a lot of things like that happen. But one of the things that we don't hear enough of in the space is the amount of people that did that same thing but lost everything. So there are more people who are losing money trying to chase quick profits than there are those that are actually making quick profits short term. Right? So as I said, long-term security is very, very critical, right? Which is one of the importance of personal finance. And as I said, always think long-term. The other thing is goal achievement, right? By having a personal financial plan, you can actually achieve your short-term and long-term goal. I mentioned savings and I mentioned investments. Now, for your savings account, you can save for something that you're trying to acquire within a short term, right? Let's say, for example, you want to buy a car, for example, right? You want to buy a car. Now you can save for that. You don't invest to buy a car. You save to buy a car, right? Because as I said, investment is supposed to be what? Long term, not short term. If you invest short term, you're just going to get short term results, right? Trust me, I've done this. I've lost money like 2, 3, 4 times, like funds I got when I was working with most of those crypto companies. And that is something that has shaped the way I think today. There is no point in time that anybody will come and meet me and tell me, oh, come and buy this thing, and in 5 days you get this, or in three. I will not even answer you. I'll tell you, okay, thank you so much. I'm not even going to visit the website because I am very much aware that it is not feasible, right? So um talking about that, right? Having a personal financial plan can actually help you achieve your long-term and short-term goal. Your short-term goal, you can do that through your savings. Long-term goals, you can do that through your investments account. Then the next thing is it provides you with financial stability, right? Being able to manage your funds well gives you a form of financial stability in various aspects of life. So let's say, for example, the approach of you having a percentage of your income that you're saving, a percentage that you're investing, and a percentage that you are spending. Now, stability can come in the sense that let's say you're walking around or you're just you're going like window shopping, or maybe you just went somewhere and then you see something that you like, right? Because a lot of times people buy not using logic, they buy based on emotion, right? Based on emotion, whatever kind of emotion it is, fear, love, whatever it is, but based on emotion. That's how most people buy a lot of times. Now, if you're in such a place and you see that item, that shiny item that your mind is telling you, buy, 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 buy. Now, if you have a financial plan, a proper financial structure, right? Unlike before that, you can just easily, swipe your card, pay for it, and then just go along, right? Now, with a proper financial plan, you can first of all check and say, okay, how much do I even have in my expense column? Like, how much do I have for this month that I can still spend for me to be able to buy this item? Now, if you check and see that, let's say, for example, the item is 100 naira, right? And you have 120 naira in your expense column, right? That's the available balance. Now, it is foolish for you to spend 100 naira and then have be left with what, 20 naira, especially let's say if that particular month you're still around, let's say 10th, let's say you're around 10th of October or 15th, you still have about 20 to 30, 20 to 15 days to go. The question now is that 20 naira going to sustain you for the rest of that 20 days or 15 days? Now, if you're able to now do this estimation and say that, okay, 20 naira is not going to sustain you that for that period, you can now do your maths and be like, okay, no problem. I can move this item to next month. Or you can even talk to the person selling and say, okay, can I pay instrumentally? If they say yes, you can now give them 20 naira, right, as an advance payment and hold 100 naira, which can sustain you throughout that month and then maybe into the next month. And you can now make another form of payment instead of you do not having any idea how much you have or how much you're worth, and you're just spending sporadically like that. That is very, very disastrous, and it will only lead to one thing, which is what? Financial ruin. So the other thing I'll talk about now is how to manage your finance, right? Managing your finance. Now, the first thing we have here is you have to first of all evaluate your current financial outlook, right? So you have to ask yourself a question. Where are you at with your savings, expenses, debts? Are you owing anybody? Are you indebted with anybody, to anyone? What do you have as investments? How much have you invested so far, right? So once you're able to do this, you'll be able to have a mental clarity of where you are with your money. And I'm really sorry, but not sorry to say, we actually have a very poor and bad financial culture here in Africa, right? And why I say this is that a lot of people never learn about money from their parents, right? They don't learn from their parents, they don't learn from their elder siblings, and they don't definitely learn it in school. In fact, there are homes that you don't talk about money, like it's seen as a taboo, right? Because of the whole ideology of, yeah, Lazarus and the poor man. Is it Lazarus and the poor man? Or no, Lazarus and the rich man, right? The ideology that rich people go to hell, people are evil, and all of that. Now, something that you perceive or you take to be evil, you cannot attract it, right? If you see love as something that is evil or something that is bad, you can't attract love. Even if love comes to you without even you attracting it, trust me, one way or the other, right? You're going to act in a repulsive manner to it because of the fact that it might not even be something you're doing intentionally, just because of the fact that you have internalized it that you don't like this thing is bad. By default, you're going to pursue it away. That's why you see some people that because of they have that idea that, oh, the rich people are bad, rich people are evil, they are going to hell, they are going to Hades or whatever, right? You will see that some of these people might run into some amounts that, in fact, they were not expecting that amount of money. But because of the fact that they see, like deep within them, without any conscious effort, they see money as something that is bad. They would most likely spend that money in a very, very hazardous way. They will even spend it on things that they themselves don't even care about, right? they themselves don't even care about. And at the end of the day, they are back to the same place where they left off. Now, in case you don't know how important money is, I'll paint a picture. There's a survey that found out that about 70 to 80% of problems that people have in their marriages, their homes, is related to what? Money. Now, this is to tell you how critical money is. And yes, what they say about money not being able to buy you happiness, yes, it's true, because happiness is something that comes from within, not from without, right? But money can solve money problems for you. You can help other people. You can, set up institutions that train people. You can buy a house for your family. You can do whatever money can afford you to do, right? But if you don't have it, trust me, you're going to suffer for it. Like you will suffer for it. And I mean, we have the internet now, always in your face, telling you about someone else and somewhere else that is having a better time, living a better life, quote and unquote, than you, right? So it is always very critical that you take your finances very, very, very serious and have a structure around how you manage it. Now, the next thing here is setting a clear financial goal, right? Now, you have to set a short-term goal, mid-term goal, long-term goal, whatever your desire is, whatever your goal is, right? What are you trying to do? And as you can see, as I highlighted here, your goal has to be what's measurable and specific, right? It has to be smart, which is what it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be time bound. So let's say you're saying you want to be worth 10 million naira in the next 6 months, right? Now that is good because why? It is measurable, right? 10 million naira is something that is what's measurable, right? Now it has to be what's achievable. Within the next 6 months, what will you be doing or what things can you do that you can be able to what acquire or accumulate up to what 10 million naira. And as you can also see, it is what time bound, which is why you said you want to be able to get 10 million naira within what the next 6 months. Right now, based on the approach that you're trying to use to get this money, that's what will determine if the goal is achievable or not. So when setting your financial goals, they have to be very, very specific. They have to be smart. And this is what I mean by smart. Here, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. Then the next thing is you have to create and monitor your budget. You have to manage and monitor your spending habits. Because the truth is, it's something that you have to do intentionally. It's just like someone who writes an article, right? A professional article writer or a professional software engineer or professional accountant. These are not things that you do without mindfulness. No matter how good you get at writing code, you can't be writing code and watching movie. You're going to do rubbish. You can't be trying to balance someone's account and then you're playing drums or doing something else that will take away your attention. These are things that require high amount of what focus, right? Which is the same thing with money. You have to be very, 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 very intentional about it, which is why you have to be clear on how much you're spending, how much you're saving, how much you're investing, and how you're also managing your money overall. I'm talking about diversification and the rest of them, right? So you need to have a budget. Now, a lot of people sometimes feel like, yeah, a budget is a lot, for me to now have to like write down everything I spend on and all of that. Yes, I understand that. In fact, for me as well, I don't really like it. So what I always do is I just have a basic structure. I have a percentage on what I'm spending, what is going to the expense column, what's going to emergency column, what's going to savings column, what's going to investment column. Now, I might not really care what I spend on from the expense column. All I know is that once I have spent the entire money I have in my expense column, that is it. No more spending. except it's an emergency and I still have money in my emergency account. So I don't have to monitor, oh, what did I spend my money on last month? What didn't I spend my money on? Because I have like a lot of other stuff I have to do, right? But at least from that percentage allocation, I can know what my limits are and then be able to manage my expenses accordingly. Now, the other thing I'll talk about is savings, which is number four, right? You need to start taking your savings very, very seriously, right? Very, very, very seriously. I think it's shameful that some persons are in their 20s, 18, 30s, and they don't even have anything they've saved, right? Their idea of a good living is, oh, I get money today and then I go and buy suya, you know? I go and buy suya. I take my girlfriend out, I take my boyfriend out, or I go and buy a handbag. I just go and buy glasses. I go and do this, I go and do that. Some persons is okay, I get this money, I just send it to my siblings or give it to my parents. Yes, that is a very noble thing. But the thing is you can't exactly give what you don't have, right? And trust me, by the time you give away every single thing you have, you're going to be in the same position that the people that you're helping are in. And guess what? Both you and those people will become a liability to some other person, right? And then they'll start calling you Uche, the urgent 2K guy, right? They'll now add 2K, urgent 2K to your name. So every single time you call, they'll be like, that guy don't they call again. Like they'll just they watch. Now money won't ask. After you not asking, say how I did, now you go ask me say, waiting if you get for my hand. And trust me, you don't want to be seen that way. Like you really don't want to be seen that way, which is why it's very, very important that you're able to manage your finances very well. Just give me a second. Let me drink water. Now, the next thing, which is in item five, is never earn an income without investing a part of it. So don't ever earn anything without having an amount that you're allocating that, oh, I am investing this. Because if you don't do that, trust me, you're really not going to be actively investing. And that is just going to result in what? You staying for it in the future. For 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 some of you that know like elderly people that in their 70s, 60s, and all of that, and you see that let's say for example they are poor or they are broke. Trust me, if you go and meet those people and have a real conversation with them, you will be surprised because some elderly people now that are in their 60s, their 70s, that are poor and they're depending on maybe relatives or their kids or pension. If you ask some of these people, you would realize that the amount they were earning at a particular point in time was enough for them to retire rich. But they never did. Because why? They spent immediately, they are getting it. So they are getting the money they want to buy the children new clothes. They are getting the money they want to take the children on vacation. They are getting the money they want to send 10,000 wrappers to mama in the village. They are getting the money they want to repaint their car. They want to repaint the house. You know, they want to change their TV sets. Now, all of these things are what? Liabilities, because they don't remove money from your pocket and then that money comes back again. It's gone, it's gone. If you buy a car now, if you even want to resell it back to the dealer, trust me, you're not going to sell it that same amount. Same thing with any electronic appliance, whether it's TV, whether it's phone, or whatever. There is hardly a way that you're going to sell it back to whoever you bought it from at a higher rate. So it is always very critical that as much as you're earning, as much as you're spending, you're using that same energy to invest for your future. Now, the last thing here is from time to time, you have to be able to review your budgets, right? Review your budget. So let's say you're starting with saving or investing 40%, and let's say you're allocating something like 20% to your expenses. If over time, right, by monitoring your budget, over time, if you notice that I can't really do this 20% because around 15th or 20th of the month, my money don't finish and my career they drink, make I don't go blind. It's your budget, right? You can easily go back to that budget, modify it, and increase it to maybe 25% or 30%. All of these things depend on what? How quick you want to become financially free. In one of Robert Kiyosaki's book that I read, I can't remember the title. I don't know if it's Cash Flow or which of them. He talked about how him and his wife, him, how they were investing in homes, then how they were buying homes and all of that, how they were managing their investment. He said that they were investing 70% of their income. In fact, they didn't even, at some point, they didn't have a house. Him and his wife were living.
David, your voice is kind of distant right now.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to fetch water. Can you hear me now? Am I more audible now?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Awesome, awesome.
You
Please, what was
talked
the
about
last thing you heard?
how Robert Kiyosaki and his wife were investing, then we didn't hear anything after that.
Yes, yes. I read from one of Robert Kiyosaki's book then, while I was in school, how him and his wife went about investing, that now both of them are multi-millionaires, right? And they are financially free. They can live whatever kind of lifestyle that they want to live. He was talking about how they were investing there. He said that at some point, him and his wife, they were investing 70% of their income. In fact, they were doing so much aggressive investment that they did not have a house for some time. They were living in their car. Meanwhile, they were buying old homes, renovating it, and then renting it to people. But they that were renting the homes, they did not have a house, right? So they had to make all of this sacrifice for them to be able to achieve what? Financial freedom. So even the thing I'm saying, right, as sweet as it sounds or not sweet, right, it doesn't come without its own sacrifice because as they would say, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And that's why everybody's not rich, right? Because we have a lot of people trying to be like the Johnsons and forgetting that the Johnsons are going broke. Now, moving to the next slide. So give me a sec. Moving to the next slide. Here I talk about the secret to building long-lasting wealth. If you notice, the first thing I mentioned here is what? Think long term. Think long term. Most of the funds I've made, right, whether in crypto, whether it's in with gold or any other thing, trust me, it has been because of the fact that I thought long term. I thought long term. I bought Solana, for example, for Solana. I think I bought Solana when Solana was around $20 to $17. Now, I could have easily sold my Solana when Solana got to $50, $70, $80, $40, $100 even, right? But I did not sell it because of what? I have a long-term plan based on my research on Solana where I believe this particular asset class is going to go. Now, am I saying you should go and buy Solana? Nope. I'm just sharing my story. Now, how much is Solana? As of now that I'm talking to you, Solana is what? $192. In fact, it even went as high as what? Almost $250. I still did not sell my Solana. But a lot of people now would see that and be like, oh, more see profit, make I cash out before it done. You will cash out though, quite all right. But what do you think the value of Solana would be in the next 4 years? What do you think it would be in the next 5 years? Look at Bitcoin, for example. The other day I was talking to my doctor and he was talking about his friend that had about 20 Bitcoin. That the guy bought Bitcoin when Bitcoin was how much did he say the Bitcoin was then? I think he said it was around $8,000. And then the man bought about 10 of it. Now, when Bitcoin got to $20,000, which was when it had the first massive bull run, right? The man went and sold everything. He sold every single thing. Now, how much is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is around, currently now, as we're speaking, I think Bitcoin is around $110,000. Can you compare $20,000? to $110,000. The 10 Bitcoin he sold, at most, he got, let's say, 100K at most. Now, that 100K he got with his 10 Bitcoin is what he would have been able to get as at today with just one Bitcoin. So always do what? Think long term. Now, from your long term thinking, that's where you now come up what? With a plan of action. Right? What is your plan towards what you've been able to actualize or realize through your long term thinking? Now, whatever that plan is, the next thing is to do what? Take action. Because trust me, if you don't take action, it's just going to remain a plan. It's just going to remain a single page or multiple pages in your notes that you don't ever go back to. So it is very essential that you take a plan as well towards achieving your financial goal. Then the next thing, which is the most important thing, Sabali. Sabali. Be patient. Be very, very, very patient. Success rewards those that are patient, not those that are in a haste. If you're in a rush to make money, you will be in a rush to lose it, just as I did with my restaurants. And if you don't introspect, you'll be like, oh, investment doesn't work. I tried it before. But trust me, it works. It works. I can tell you that from my own experience, it works. Right? So be patient with your investment and do not rush what? Building wealth. Do not rush it. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is crypto investing principles, right? So when you want to invest in crypto, what are the things you have to do? Now, one of the most important thing, right? Although, as I've already talked about personal finance, it still goes into crypto as well. So all the advice, all the things I've said in the previous slide still applies even when you're investing in crypto, right? So one of the first things you do around investing in crypto is you have to be able to do your own research, right? Understand what you're buying. Don't just say, Mr. David told me that a X coin is going to go to X amount of X's, right? And then I'll become a billionaire and then you just rush and go and buy it. Nope. I might have missed something that you might see. And you'll be like, oh, no, 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 I shouldn't buy this. Or you'll be like, oh, no, 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 I should buy more of this. But always do your own research because no matter the advice you get from anybody, what you're investing is not their money. It is what? Your money. And if anything happens, you're the one that would face the loss and consequences of that loss, not me, not anyone else. Right? So always make sure to conduct your own research. If you don't know how to carry out research, thank God now we have ChatGPT, Gemini, and the rest of them that have deep research that they can carry out this research for you. All you have to do is what? Read it. And now, if you're very, very lazy to read, thank God for Google with Notebook LM, right? Which you can carry that research and give it to Notebook LM and it will turn it to a podcast to you that you can listen to. Now, if you're too lazy to listen, I'm sorry, you're just going to be poor for the rest of your life. I can't help you again, right? So you have to choose your poison. Then the other thing is risk management. I can't overemphasize this, right? Risk management. How are you managing your risk, right? How are you managing your risk? And what risk management is all about is, okay, how much are you willing to lose? So if you buy a coin with 100 naira, within your 100 naira, how much are you willing to lose that? If you lose it, you just carry your money, come out, say, oh, my bad, make I use some whole body. Because trust me, these things always fluctuate. But if you leave your money there, you buy a particular crypto, or you go into the forex market, you're trading without risk management, and you're like, oh no, I'll off it, or I'll close the trade when it's in profit, or if my loss reaches particular amounts, I'll manually close the trade. Trust me, you're not going to be faster than a computer. There are a lot of institutions that they trade with supercomputers, and you're trading with your HP at home. That is maybe even Core i5 with a RAM of 4 gig. And you think you're going to beat institutions that are using supercomputers, that are using advanced AI analytics softwares to trade. You're not going to beat them. Every single time you're going to lose. So whenever you're placing a trade or whatever, always take your risk management into consideration. Let it be part of your strategy. In fact, that should be the first thing within your strategy. Your strategy for you to get a signal to buy or sell is not as important as your risk management. Because no matter how good your strategy to buy or sell is, there is a high possibility that the market will go against it. As much as there's a high possibility to that, it will go in profit. But whatever the outcome is, your risk management is what ensures at every single time that your money is safe and you're not losing it. So if you hear anybody say, I blow account, trust me, it's because of what? The lack of risk management. Now, a lot of traders, a lot of people don't like using risk management because they feel like, oh, sometimes the market will take you out and then your signal will go back up. Yes, that can happen. But there are times that the market will reverse and it just keeps going down. And by that time, you've lost more than you have appetite to lose. And the next thing you'll be like, I bet Forex now snap for scammers. No, you're the one that refuse, right, to be disciplined. So as much as possible, take your risk management seriously. In fact, way more seriously than any other thing. And this is not just crypto. I'm talking about stocks, I'm talking about Forex, real estate, whatever it is, I don't care. Make sure you have a specific amount that if your money don't reach that level, you cut your losses and go. If you invest 100 naira, it is better that you still have 20 naira, 30 naira, 80 naira. If the market goes against you, then you have 0 naira. It is always better, trust me. Because at that time, if the market goes down, you can still carry that your 10 naira and buy it at a very cheap rate. And if the market goes back up, that your 10 naira might even become 100 naira again, or even become 200 naira. But if you leave everything there, now Baba Ijebu be that, the market will carry your money and go, and the boys will be happy. Now, the other thing is diversification, right? Even in crypto, diversify, right? Diversify. Just don't buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. Buy a lot of them. And as I said, don't just do crypto. Go outside of crypto. Look at stocks, Forex, silver, gold, land, whatever, right? Like whatever, right? Just make sure that you diversify. And these are real investments, not the one they'll tell you that in 1 year you get 100%. In fact, even real investments, there are a lot of them that will not even give you 100% in 1 year. Because as I always tell people, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that the amount of percentage you're willing to gain in profits, right, is directly proportional to the amount you are willing to lose, whether you know it or not. So if you're willing to gain 100%, without knowing it, you're also willing to lose 100% of your capital, especially if you don't have a risk management system in place, right? Then the other thing is always have what? A long-term perspective. I don't think I can overemphasize this. And I think that's why across all slides, you always see me mentioning what? Long-term. I understand that you want to be a billionaire or millionaire tomorrow, and shame your enemies, and show Amaka that, now she lose as she break up with you. But trust me, now you go lose when you lose the small money where you get. And Amaka go talk, say, I made the right decision. That guy is going nowhere. So as much as possible, have a long-term perspective in mind. Have a long-term perspective in mind. Yes, you can gamble, do your Baba Ijebu, but when it comes to your investments, please don't gamble. Do not gamble. Do not gamble with that. Now we'll be going to the next one. I think this is like the one before the last one, which I just gave an advice. As I said here, remember, the secret to wealth or to building wealth long term is what? Compounding interest. Do not rush it. Do not rush it. Real investments take time, except maybe you want to go into crime and become a politician in certain countries where you can steal money or come out and say monkey carried money and run into the bush. or snake swallowed money. You know, I've heard of countries that this thing happen, right? So except you want to do that, yes, you can be able to make profit or become wealthy, quote and unquote, within a very short time. But if you're really going to invest, it's going to take a lot of time. And when it comes to taking a lot of time, I'll leave you guys with another story. Someone that took my mom's advice when I didn't take it. So one of my mom's colleague around the same time that she was advising me to buy gold, but I was in a rush to become a millionaire, right? And then I had to start a restaurant. One of her friend also asked her for advice, and then she bought the gold. I think as at then, I think she bought like 200,000 naira or 500,000 naira gold. I can't remember the figure my mom told me. We're having this conversation now. The amount of gold that woman bought was not even up to 2 million naira then, but the current value based on my mom's last conversation with this her colleague, the current value of the gold she bought then is at 70 million naira. And the woman told my mom that she has no intention to work again, that she's retiring as a journalist. She's not going to be working again. Right? So this is the power of what? Long-term thinking. And if you want to know how important long-term thinking is that it cuts across domains and fields. You would even see if you want to get married, for example, you meet a lot of marriage counselors, they will tell you what, think long term. Don't think about how beautiful or how handsome your partner is. Think about their tendencies, their characters, right? If this person snores, if you can endure the snoring for 1 week, ask yourself, can you endure that snoring for 5 years? Can you enjoy it for what, 10 years? So long-term thinking is very, 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 very critical. It's long-term thinking that brought China to where they are today. Before, who cared about China? Like no one cared. But China had the what? 100 years plan to become what? World power. I don't even think it's 100 years yet. And they're already a threat to the US. They're already like one of the most advanced countries, technology-wise, in the world. That was what? The power of long-term thinking. If you compare China to a country like Nigeria, you would see the difference. Most of the people that have ruled Nigeria have what? Short-term thinking. That's why you see a president enter today, he will say Agenda 2032. You know, he does that for a while. Maybe he doesn't even go up to 1/3 of the work for that project. He goes, the next person comes, abandons that project and be like, my own projects, 3082. He will do his own to half, he leaves and that person comes and continues and nothing is done. And if you notice, we just have a lot of what? Abandoned projects because we don't have a structure within the government that promotes what? Long-term thinking and building. If not, we wouldn't have what? A lot of abandoned projects. Even for those that even complete it, you will see that they don't maintain some of these infrastructures, which what results to what? They dying off. So long-term thinking is very, very important, not just in investment, but in life generally. I think this is where I would be stopping my presentation today. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. And I think I'm going to take questions now. So if you have any questions, suggestions, or maybe you have any ideas, or maybe you want to share your own experience of how long-term thinking has helped you, or how short-term thinking has hurt you, or maybe even helped you, yeah, please feel free to share, and that would help a lot. And also, I would also like to share that aside from we educating you guys um, about crypto and investment and all of these things, this is actually one thing that we do very well at Candleweb and we excel at, right? It's not just me, but me and my team will have a lot of people who are experienced in finance, different spheres of finance, and we've had both the good and the bad stories. And through our experience, our collective experience, and that of our many advisors, we've been able to build a system that automatically promotes this kind of thinking and helps you invest in the crypto market safely in a way that you don't blow your accounts, which is very, very important, And then secondly, in a long-term fashion, that you know that your money is constantly working for you. There's no guarantee of 30% in 30 days. No, we're not doing that at Candleware because, as I said, that would be us lying to you. But we'll build a system that can help you build wealth gradually and be able to achieve your financial goal over time. So please feel free to drop your questions and I would attend to them. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you. Today's class, I'm already seeing the testimonials. People are clapping, dropping messages. Thank you so much for this amazing session. Eye-opening and very educative. We really appreciate you for sharing and educating us. So let's quickly jump to the questions. We have a question from Joshua. So he says, thank you so much, sir. I so much enjoyed the class today. A quick question. If you were to advise one on how to invest 100K for long term, what advice would you give? Thank you.
All right. So for investing 100K, right? So I can't tell you what you should put it in exactly, right? Because a lot of these things depends on how you want to go into it. If I say you should buy gold, for example, 100K wouldn't be able to get gold. I think the last price I saw for a gram of gold is 190,000 naira, right? 190,000 naira. But then you can start somewhere, right? You can start somewhere. So like your 100K, for example, you could use it and buy something like USDT and then just keep it, right? You get another amount to buy um, another USDT, for example. Then maybe you can use that money and maybe use a platform like Candleweb to invest in crypto safely. Or you can, if it's up to 190,000, 192,000, you can also use it to buy gold. But gold is not like what we offer at Candleweb because of the fact that, like for me, I have some gold, digital gold that I bought, and some of them it actually took a long time for me to be able to actually see like profits. I think the ones I bought the last time was around 40,000 naira, and that was like 2 years ago, right? So this is how long it takes. But with your 100K, as I say, you can buy something like USDT, just keep it there. You have maybe it's up to 150,000 naira or up to $100. You can use it to maybe go into use a platform like Candleweb, or you could maybe buy Bitcoin or something. Um, but then again, as I said, even if you're buying Bitcoin or any of these things, you have to know at what amount, what price did you buy Bitcoin, how much are you willing to lose, and all of that. Even same thing with gold. But if you're looking for something that is automated, that you don't have to stress yourself about this, you can use Candleweb or some other related platform that can offer you these things without you having to manually bother yourself about these things. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much for that reply, David. Thank you. So, yeah, Joshua said yes, you did. All right, let's jump to the next question. We have Blockchain
Awesome.
Samuel. Yeah, so we have a question from Blockchain Samuel. He said, how do one allocate his or her income for several purposes if the income is low? Interesting.
Mm, mm. Now that's an interesting um, question, a very interesting question. And I think this is one thing that a lot of people always have problem with. Now, yes, your income can be low, but trust me, if you're thinking long term, it wouldn't be low, right? So let's say you're earning 50,000 naira monthly, right? Let's say you're earning 50,000 naira monthly. Sorry, let me stop sharing my screen. So let's say you're earning 50,000 naira, for example, right? Now, from that 50,000 naira, of course, you have, things you have to buy, things you have to do this, you have to do that. But trust me, even if you're saving just 10,000 naira monthly from that 50K, at the end of 12 months, you have what? 100,000 naira. If you're investing just 10,000 naira or just even 15,000 naira from that same amount, right? At the end of the year, you have maybe 120 or even more, depending on what you have invested in and how that particular investment has appreciated or how it has performed over the years or over the months, right? So it's as much as yes, capital can be a problem, right? And yes, of course, if you're earning low, you most likely would not want to um, put your money into savings and all of that thing because maybe you have more things to spend on than you're earning. But as I said, a lot of these things come with sacrifice, right? You're literally sacrificing a lot of your comforts now for when um, you're older in the future, right? An example I'll give is when I was in school, right? When I was in school, I started programming as at 2011, right? So while I was there, I had a lot of friends that, they want to go and club, they want to go and hang out with girls, they want to do whatever, they just have different things they wanted to do. Now, I was like the outlier because while they were doing these things, I was watching Bucky Roberts' video on PHP programming. I was busy taking courses on JavaScript. I was busy reading some self-help book or some other book about marketing or some other things just to, grow myself intellectually, right? Now, I was sacrificing all those things I would have been able to do. It's not like I don't like club. Even if I don't know how to dance, at least just shaking my body is exciting you know, even if I don't get scope, just being around a feminine energy can feel good sometimes. But a lot of these things, did I leave them because of the fact that I do not like them? No, I like them. I could do them, right? But I had to ask myself, okay, if I do this today, what will I be doing tomorrow, right? And as I said, I had to make that sacrifice of leaving these things to acquire knowledge. And now I can afford to go and even sleep in the club the entire week, like literally. But those my friends that are busy clubbing then, they can't afford to do those things. It's now that they're trying to balance the many responsibilities they have with, trying to make out time to study, trying to make out time to do this, trying to make out time to do that. Some of them then I told them when we're in school, because I studied computer science, I told them then when we're in school, say, guy, start the learn programming now. You know, check any programming language you want, where you want to learn. Just the learn them now. A lot of them will be like, oh, my, I beg, when I come out from school, when we just graduate, I serve, I will get time. I'll tell them that and I say, guy, this thing you're saying, this way they talk, it's not going to be like this when you graduate. When you graduate, bro, one, nobody's going to care about you to say, oh, they are sending you any 5K or 3K, especially if you're a guy, especially if you're a man. No one is going to send you that amount of money. And you're going to have people that will be looking up to you because, one, you're a graduate. So they expect that at least you have something you're doing. A lot of them just kept giving excuse that, oh, when they finish, we graduated from school. A lot of them, they even take more than 6 months before their parents pressured them, their relative or life pressured them to go and get a job. Now you're working a job that are starting by 8, you're coming back sometimes by 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Because some jobs they'll tell you it's 9 to 5. It's not 9 to 5 because if you're some jobs you're leaving the office by 5, but you still have outstanding work that if you go home you still do it, and some of them you do it into the night. So what energy do you have to do you have that you use to study or learn programming or any of those things? So my point to this is that whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, whether you have small capital or whatever you have larger capital, just know that this will take a certain amount of sacrifice from you, right? For you to be able to have the future that you want to have, right? But trust me, at the end of it all, you're going to be grateful you did. You're going to be happy you did.
Wow, thank you so much for that, David. Thank you. We'll quickly be jumping to the next question. We have two more questions in the chat. So, Favor David's question goes like this: what are your thoughts on fractional investing?
Oh yeah. Of fractional investment, I think it's actually cool. Um, I think it's actually a cool way to invest. Some people call it dollar costs averaging. Um, where you're buying a particular commodity or investment or stock or whatever, bit by bit, right? So that way you don't buy it with like a bunch of your money. So if the price of the asset should go down, you can take advantage of that, buy it at the cheaper rates, and then you can make more and then even balance off your capital. So I think it's also a good way to invest as well. But as I said, as I always say, a lot of these things depend on what you're fractionally investing in, right? Just the same way as I said that even when it comes down to saving, it depends on what you're saving in. Let me give an example. If you're saving in Naira, let's say you're saving um, early this year, so say you want to buy a bag of rice. By now, you might have saved enough to buy a bag of rice, but you won't be able to buy a bag of rice because what Naira is constantly losing what its purchasing power. So fractional investing is a good way to invest, but it still depends on what you're fractionally investing or what you're generally investing. So it's a good way to invest.
All right. Thank you so much for that reply, David. We're jumping to the next question we have here from Kenneth. So he says, "Thank you so much, Mr. David. What's your take on taking away capital in long-term investment? Like I want to buy a coin. Yeah, well done. Like I want to buy coin X and invest for 10 years. So I put $100 and the coin do say, all right, I would have to read this again. Okay, what's your take on taking away capital in long-term investment? Like I want to buy coin X and invest for 10 years. So I put $100 and coin do say 3x. Do you advise I pull out the $100 capital and commit the profit to long term or focus entire the entirety of the capital and profit for the long term? Okay, he's like, okay, I think this is what his question goes like. For instance, he buys a coin and he does make about 3 times his investment in profit. So do you advise that he takes out his capital, then leave the profit for the long term, or just focus entirely and just leave everything in there for the long term without taking out his profit?
Hmm. That's a tricky one. Well, first of all, right? First of all, it's long-term investment for a reason. If you're taking money out of if you're taking money out of um, your investments, it's no longer long-term because the idea is you are not supposed to take money out of your investments, right? You're not supposed to take money out of your investment. In fact, in my opinion, you're better off borrowing that $100 from someone else so that if you lose it, um, you can, you know, work or do whatever, save to pay back the debt, right? And then if you make 3x, as you said, you can easily return the person's capital, um, allocate a particular amount that you can use for such kind of gambling, and then have the rest of the profits maybe allocated to your savings, expenses, and then also your investment as well. But I don't recommend taking money out of your investments. It's not something I recommend at all.
All right, thank you so much, David. Thank you, Kenneth. Did you get that? We'll be jumping to one more question from Blockchain Samuel. It says recommend investment allocation, let's say crypto or any assets. Um,
Well, as I said earlier, also, right? So I can't give you a specific allocation, right? Because um, my strengths are not the same thing as yours, right? So let's say for example, I be person will like food. I too like food. I like my stomach a lot, right? If I'm earning 100K, monthly, it would be hard for me to allocate 20% to expenses because 20% is basically what 20,000 naira. Now, as someone that like food a lot, you know, go there enough, right? Because some places, a plate of swallow alone is 4K with just one apple, right? And let's say one apple is like 1K. And since I like food a lot, I might be eating like three apple, right? With that one plate of soup and maybe three meats or whatever. But you might be someone who you don't really like food like that. You like fasting, in fact. Now, for you, 20K might not be a problem because today you might eat, tomorrow you might just fast, right? So when you're doing these allocations, it has to be something that you're intentional and truthful about. You have to ask yourself, you have to know yourself or know thyself, as they would say, right? So you have to know yourself in a way that you know that, okay, this is what I can, conveniently, although convenient, I don't mean like overly conveniently, but something that you know that, okay, this is what I can actually do, right? This is what I can allocate from my income that I wouldn't have to like suffer for it. So it's different for everybody, right? So it's different for everybody. So you have to know yourself, understand your needs, and then understand why you are even investing in the first place, right? The kind of investment you're doing, short term, long term, mid term, for you to be able to properly allocate these things.
Thank you so much for that reply, David. Okay, we have, I think this should be our last question. We have one more question from Kenneth. It says, please break
Mhm.
down your investment timeline for short term, mid term, and long term.
Okay, so for short term, for me, I think I would say short term is anywhere between um, 2 to 3 years or through 2 to 5 years. I would say mid-term is from, let's say, 5 to maybe 8 or 10 years. Then long term is maybe from 5 years to 20 or 30 years, right? Something that you're looking at when you're quite old that, I mean, you really can't really walk or something, but long term should be at least on 5 years above. 5 years is the minimum for long term investments, which is why it's called long term.
All right. Thank you so much, David, and thanks everyone for tuning in for tonight's class. As usual, the attendance is currently live on our platform. Make sure you sign today's attendance. It's going to be open until um Saturday at 5 p.m. It's going down. So make sure you sign the attendance and we'll be verifying all the tax so you can claim your rewards. So it's an amazing class and it was an amazing session. Thank you so much for the knowledge shared, David. And we're
Yeah.
going to see
Um,
you in the community.
yeah, let me also share some other thing. So just to encourage every one of you here, um, for you to be able to start investing wisely. Um, we would be offering 10 AI units, 10 free AI units, and then also 10 of our native token to anyone within this cohort who would want to start investing with CandleWeb. And also, if you have further questions to understand how CandleWeb works, how we protect your capital, and all of those things, feel free to send me a DM or send Isaac a message. Although we're still going to have a class on that, but all in all, we're offering 10 free AI units to everyone who would be using CandleWeb within this cohort. So yeah, do take advantage of that. And if you have any questions around this or our services, feel free to ask in the group or just send me a DM.
Thank you so much for that, David. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Blockchain Basics. You guys are also awesome. So I'll be allowing everyone to unmute themselves as we're rounding up the class for tonight. Maybe you have a thing or two to say while we round up. Make sure to sign the attendance and we're going to meet in the community. All right, good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night, everyone. I'll see you all in the community.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Yeah, good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
good night, Eric. Good night, Chibuzo. Good night, Faith. Good night, Kenneth. Good night, Emeka. Good night, Cynthia. Zion. Good night, Mubarak. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah, good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.